Assalamu alaikum, wonderful viewers. Welcome to the Political Hour Show here on Eco TV International, the People's Choice, where we invite politicians, women and youth to discuss about the pressing issues in our country here. And today here with me is the Honorable National Assembly Member for Kiang West. He will introduce himself shortly, but before that you can kindly follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram and YouTube. Sponsors are also invited. You can call on the various numbers on the screen to sponsor this program. I am your host, Rohit Toure. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Okay, please introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Honorable Lamin, Ceesay, National Assembly Member for Kiang West constituency.
Okay, yes. Honorable Lamin Ceesay, the photocopy of Toure Kundankas.
Not really, not at all.
Okay, all right. Can you tell us more about yourself?
Okay, Honorable Lamin Ceesay, formerly known as Mod Lamin, from my native home, Kiang, Keneba. And I was born and raised there, and I did part of my basic education there, then proceeded to Muslim high school, and where I pursue my basic education certificate, senior secondary school for West Africa, then proceeded to Gambia College, to acquire diploma in education. Then I taught for 5 to 6 years, then left again for development studies, at Rural Development Institute to acquire higher national diploma in development studies, part of which were human resources, public institution management and administration. Upon graduating, then I joined Yono Forex and Yono Islamic Microfinance, and who is currently called Yono Group as a human resources manager. Where I worked for 2 to 3 years. It was more than 2 years and few years, and few months rather. And in 2022, I ran for parliamentary, to represent my constituents at the House of Representatives, at the National Assembly, and did few activities as well as a youth and a community activist as well. From both school days and as well at the community level. Some college friends, of course, could remember when, I also served as their vice president in 2015, 2016, and 2016, 2017 as the president of their students' body, the Gambia College. And as well, the community, Secretary General of my native home and the spokesperson of our district youth and development association as well, and few more, responsibilities that I have manned when I was going to school and my activities with my community.
Okay, now can you tell us what really motivated you that you've decided to venture into politics, and what inspired you that you've decided to run for the National Assembly member position for the Kiang West constituency?
A lot motivated me, but most fundamental is about the well-being and of my constituents, the people of Kiang West constituency is what motivated me. And of course, there were very strong National Assembly members who passed before I come as a member of Kiang West constituents. To name one is Mahmoud L.K. Sane, L.K. Sane, Alaj Mod Sane, the former National Assembly member for Kiang West constituency and the former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, was a very strong member. Was a very, very strong National Assembly member, who fight for Kiang West, even during the days of President Jawara, coming to President Jammeh, and even now. So to do anything and to be outspoken more than those type of members is very difficult. But then the days and times are different. As today's world, political realities are that we interact with, the parliamentary works and the responsibilities, not only on debate, but there is a very huge technological advancement when it comes to the work and development in general. Yeah. And most of the public officials are very well also young people, as well, who are interact with current realities of the world. So of course, times must be different. Yeah. So, but then those type of people, when they serve before you, it is difficult for you to do much more better than them, or to be outspoken better than those people. Okay. That man was very strong and outspoken, and very big respect to him. You know, may Allah bless him, and may Allah, you know, protect him. So, but then what motivated me is the well-being of my constituents. As you were aware, and so many people were aware, if you were interested in politics those days, Kia West was one of the constituencies who denied the president's votes to be elected in office as the president. That is President Jammeh I'm talking about. Okay. In fact, there was a year, you know, when he won all the constituencies in the country except the Kia West constituents, and that was 47-1. Then the constituencies were 47 constituencies only, and then the only one constituency he didn't win was Kia West constituency. Okay. Do you understand? And he named the constituency. There's several, very many outrageous names were given to constituency. Outrageous remarks were thrown to our constituents, you know, and we were not being called names as Badim, Fasa, Hawe, and a lot, but then we were even, you know, deprived development, better health care, good senior secondary school.
Okay, just because you did not vote for him?
Yeah, pretty much. Just because we did not vote for him. And better road, you know, connection. Women were deprived, you know, guardians, you know, their furrows, and a lot. When they work on their vegetable gardens, they, at the end of harvest, they cannot transport to the nearest market, and there was no network to the market, and there was no nearest market to them too. So some of their goods will all be perished, and it ended up becoming a losses. So, you know, economic development were not in that community just because of the political, you know, sensitivity of the government in those days. So all these are some of the things that motivated me to see if my constituents is to benefit from these national, you know, resources. You know, it's important for one to be somewhere where decisions are made, where budgets are allocated, resources is shared among citizens. It's important to be there. It's important to be where you have an influence to do an advocacy, to knock the doors of the ministers and other government officers to say, this is what my constituents want, so for them to take it there. So this is what motivates me to actually, you know, run for parliamentary. Okay,
and then that period, how do you feel seeing the president who is supposed to care and tender for every citizen, which is his job, marginalizing your district because of like you did not vote for him? How do you feel about that then?
Yeah, the word you used is the best word to use. It was marginalizing. Marginalization is against every principle of humanity. It's you know, it's inhuman. It's violating one's human right. Life is a human right for everybody, and right to education, right to, you know, good health, good network, you know, road, right to better health care. Yeah. All those are rights of every citizen. Those are fundamental and basic rights of citizens. Yes. So if anybody denies you that, that is inhuman. I called it inhumans. You know, outrageous, and it was cruel, it was tyrannic, it was oppressive to rule people because the way you want to rule them, or because they do not vote for you, so you denied them development. That was quite, you know, disturbing to the people of Kia West constituents, and I know, you know, we still fight for that, and we stand on those grounds and those principles that we may not necessarily vote for any ruling party, but then we still are citizens of these constituents, this country, and we deserve every right to enjoy every natural resources and every national resources as other citizens could enjoy in Banjul and in Serakunda, in the other parts of the country.
Okay, and what are your top priorities as the National Assembly member for Kiang West?
You know, my top priorities as the National Assembly member for Kia West are not confined within the four corners of my constituents. Okay. That is for the well-being of the people of this country. That's my top priority. Okay. And that priority has to stem from leadership. You know, countries who have thrived very well, who are able to attain certain development, you know, goals, we are able to achieve it through a leadership that is responsive and responsible. So, which means my priority is that we must nurture a leadership that is responsive and responsible. Responsibleness would be that you refuse to be corrupt and to be surrounded by any corrupt people. And responsiveness is to respond to the need of your people. Anytime they called upon you, you know that you are answerable to them. You are ready to go to their doorstep and know what they want. How do they want it? Where they want it? When do they want it? Do you understand? Irrespective of every diversity. So on top of my priorities is to nurture and to have a better leadership for this country. How do I do that? Of course, everybody will vote leaders in office. But in the National Assembly as a priority, you have a responsibility to hold leaders to account.
Yes.
From president down to ministers and all other subsector officials. We are the one responsible for holding even you to account as media officers. If you do anything, we have every right to call this medium to say, come to National Assembly, explain this to us. Do you understand? We have every right to do that. So it's our responsibility to hold them to account, to ensure that the resources that we allocate to them to implement, whether they have implemented it rightly or not, whether they have implemented according to plan or not, so that we hold them to account. If they are found wanting, we recommend punishments for them. Some of them can even leave public office for us. National Assembly have all those things as responsibility. And on top of the priorities also are the well-being of the people of my constituents.
Yes.
Because after the legislation to make the laws for the public officers and for everybody in this country, you do oversight, you perform oversight as to how they are implementing those laws, whether there is any biasness or those laws are definitely serving the purpose or not. If they are not, there is need for amendment, changes, you can do all of that. And the other thing is representation, to advocate for my people. And on top of it is to ensure that my citizens also, get the basic life sustaining goods. That is the electricity, the good road network, the health services, and the education. And the women also have the potential to be able to, engage into economic activities, the young people into, as well the skill training, to also be able to develop them into youth entrepreneurs and all of that. These are all the priorities that we have, and thank God we are trying to do that a bit.
Okay. And what are some of your biggest challenges as the NAM of Kiang West that you are facing?
There are numerous. My challenges are definitely numerous. As some of those things are not hidden, are not secrets, to anybody, because you can see as a member of the National Assembly, and if you don't have a challenge as a member of the National Assembly, and then you are not a NAM. Everyone has a challenge, but our challenges are different, particularly, in this country, that's not only in this country. If you want to stand for justice, if you want to stand for the truth, you are called names. It can come from your own people. It can come from anybody. It can come from your own family. It doesn't matter any level you are. So National Assembly membership is not an exception. Some people might think, in fact, some of my colleague NAMs, will tell you openly, he thinks he's William Shakespeare, I swear. Because it's all those things are things that are trying to attack you. Sometimes some will tell you, he thinks he's the best now. You understand? And some will tell you, I don't know the reason. And some will tell you, he's speaking for the gallery at the National Assembly, to know that he's speaking. Also for his constituents to know that he's speaking. All these are attacks. All these are attacks. That are very dangerous for a young person. But we're trying to be very strong to know why some of those people would say that. Do you understand? I don't want to talk about the reason why they would say, but I know why they are saying that and what I'm doing to try to overcome those challenges. I know all of that. And sometimes you speak in Parliament about a particular minister and their responses are so crazy towards you. And you want to pass a certain law on the interests of the Gambian citizens. Some people would come and try to, because they have a number, and they would against that submission that you've made, and they would vote against it, and their yes will stand, because they have a number, even though it's not on the interest of the citizens. When it comes to lawmaking, in so many laws. We pass so many laws in the National Assembly. This law, I never forget about that when it comes to anti-corruption. You know, every legislation, every act, there is a particular clause in every act that is the nucleus of that. That is the soul of that particular law. If you remove that, like if you remove a fundamental human right from a constitution, right, then there is no constitution. A constitution that does not guarantee a fundamental human right, a constitution that does not guarantee integrity and accountability and transparency in public office, that's not a constitution. All right. So that anti-corruption bill, anti-corruption law is also about people enriching themselves with public resources, resources that is allocated to the citizens of this country, you know, and nothing will come out of it.
They are not held accountable for it.
They are not yet accountable for it. This is what is going to happen, because that anti-corruption law will remove the nucleus of the bill, which is illicit enrichment, unexplained wealth. You can hold a public office, and when you are out of the office, you cannot explain a wealth that is outside your salaries. But every public officer should be able to do that, to sit before a commission and say, this wealth I have gotten was from a business, or is from a family member's business, or any partnership, or is from my salaries. For the anti-corruption commission to able to look at that and say, yes, your salaries can be able to earn you this kind of resources, can be able to earn you this kind of wealth, can be able to earn you this kind of, if it does not, then you must explain where it comes from. If you cannot do that, then it's from public resources.
Yes.
Do you understand? So they removed that from that bill. That has been removed from the bill. And you know, but there's nothing that is more painful than when it comes to budget allocation. When it comes to the allocation of the State House, you want to touch that is a war. Why? We can cut the agriculture. We can cut the health. We can cut the education. We can cut the well-being of young girls who are going to school. Their sanitary pads. We can cut that. But we cannot cut the travel and the food and other entertainments from the office of the president. That's disgusting. So all those are, you know, things that discourage you. You know, when it comes to accountability, public officers will do something wrong. The report is at the National Assembly. You want to adopt that report. People are against that. People are, you know, trying to defend the ministers who cannot even defend themselves.
Seriously?
And when yes, of course. And when it comes to voting, they will take the vote, because parliamentary decision lies in the votes. That is parliamentary democracy anywhere in the world. Do you understand? So it is very much discouraging. So when this one couples with some of the challenges from the constituents, and at some point some citizens do not understand the role of a member of parliament, and some things National Assembly member have a budget that he or she implements, but that's not your role per se, to implement projects for the constituents. You can lobby projects, you partner with people, but that is not your core mandate as a member of parliament. It's your legislation to make sure that accountability and transparency is in the country. And it starts with oneself. That must start with the National Assembly. National Assembly must manifest that. Do you understand? Because as you hold others to account, you must meet your own obligation. Do you understand? So, but citizens may, all those are some of the challenges there, but those are minor challenges. But the major challenges is the work at the National Assembly that we do. At the end of the day, you know, you will see that you see a lot of things when it comes to voting, they vote it out. It's challenging, it's demoralizing, you know, it's discouraging to young people who may want to serve as a public officer, who may want to serve on the interests of the city. I'm not discouraging people, but this is what they want. Because we are fighting with people who live in houses that they acquire through corruption. They drive cars that they acquire through corruption. They take their children to school through money corruptly acquired. You know, they drink waters that they acquire through corruption. They take their parents to make it through money that is acquired through corruption. They themselves went to make it through money corruptly acquired. They do everything on their basis through money corruptly acquired. When you want to stop that, they want to kill you, because that's their life naturally. If you want to stop that, they see that you want to stop us from living, from existing as a human being. So they are prepared to kill. So all the things they are doing to us at the National Assembly is naturally they want us to give up. And when we give up, they are succeeding.
And how are you coping with that?
That situation, it's, you know, it's not very much encouraging as it stands. I'm trying to cope with that through the encouragement from some colleagues. I have some colleagues who are very strong in the advocacy, to try to ensure that there is transparency, there is accountability, in the country. And sometimes they will come to National Assembly, you ask them questions that affect the life of other people in Woolly and other places. The response they give you is not correct. And you want to follow up with that is a problem. But they are doing all of that because they know the intention of those questions. They know what we want to achieve. Because in this country, let me tell you one thing that is very certain, and we must definitely know that, because we depend largely on loans and grants for our lives. This is why I'm happy USAID is cut for Africa and other parts of the world. I'm very happy. Some of you may not be happy. I'm happy USAID is cut. USAID has been happening for more than 50 years for African countries. What has it changed? Does it change our hospitals? Does it change our road network? Does it change the education system? Does it change anything in this country? It doesn't. It doesn't change anything. But yet we have resources in this country. All our revenue potentials are not identified, how we can get revenue from those things. The few revenue potentials that are identified, they are not all collected. The little that is collected are sitting in individuals' pockets. The little revenue we collect are sitting in the individual pocket. Little that comes to National Assembly for us to allocate for the institution. When you allocate that for the institution, it all goes to procurement. A public officer will tell a contractor that, okay, I'm awarding this contract to you. Part of the contract fund, you will give me 3 million. 3 million is how many percent? 20% goes to public officers' pocket as kickbacks. Okay? And 30% goes to procurement of vehicles and other materials. Project has not yet started. And all those should be part of the implementation of that project. 20% goes to the profit of the contractor. 30% is implemented. This is the sad thing that we face as a country. And public officers know that. They know it very well. They know what we are saying. At some point I tell people, okay, it is good that when GRA tell Gambians, we projected 9 billion or 10 billion in the first quarter, but we were able to collect 11 billion, and people keep clapping. Yes, we can clap, but look, do you look at whether when they tell you this year we want to collect 10 billion, do you make a thorough assessment of all our revenue potential to be able to know that whether they should be able to collect more than 11 billion and they tell you we are collecting 9 billion? Do you go back to make a revenue audit to say whether they have actually collected beyond or exactly that 11 billion that is declared as surplus or not? Our country must look at that, and we must drive at that angle. Do you understand? So there are so many challenges in the system, but we are not giving up, because when we give up, that is the success of these people, and they want us to give up. It's a disaster, and there are elite groups. This is a new thing that I must tell people. There are people in this country. There are the business groups and the elite groups. Elite groups are in public offices and other, you may call them, right? And some are business groups. You see, all our government issues that are going into procurement are deals that are between the businessmen and these elite groups. And sometimes they will go to social media. And I don't talk about this, ethnic issues and tribal things. And sometimes public officers will go to media and talk about this. Sometimes those tribes and those ethnicities and those poor people things, they are not fighting for them. They are serving the interests of the elite groups and the business community. And these business communities are hanging up on any political party. Any political party that comes to power, they lean on you to get their interests. These are the procurement issues. When it comes to the procurement of the bosses, at some point, the Social Security, who's supposed to serve the interests of the public officers, who comes every month, they pay a due to Social Security, so that when they serve this country to an old age, they can be able to go home and have a house, and at the end of the month, they cannot be able to work, and they do something for their families. Every month, you give them only 1,000. Social Security picked those monies. And they told us, in fact, it was 11 million euros. And in turn, when we investigate, it was more than 11 million euros. It was about 13 million euros that they give to the Gambia government to buy those buses during the time of local government election. That the government, you see the president was in the bus rounding the entire country, those 70 buses.
We've seen that.
You understand? To celebrate that. And they did that for local government election. That money comes from Social Security. And when that money comes from Social Security reported that it was 9 million euros. It was more than 9 million, about even 13 million euros And let me tell you, it doesn't stop at 70 buses. At the end of the day, they did more than 70. It was up to 100 buses. The other one was given to Mohamed Tariq. The other one was given to Q group, that is the Mohamed Jah and the team. The other 30 was given to, we know all of that. Do you understand? And there was no actual transparency and accountability. All of those things goes to procurement. You talk about the fertilizer issue in this country. You subsidize a lot in the fertilizer. And at the end of the day, you went and add money to buy more fertilizer without coming back to the appropriation institution. That is the National Assembly to be able to do that. The things that are happening in this country are outrageous. You cannot imagine.
So with all this, nobody is held accountable for it.
Yes, this is the president who has been in office for more than 8 years. It is coming to 10 years. Nobody is prosecuted for corruption. Nobody is arrested from public office for corruption. You would believe that? All this is happening. You could remember the COVID-19 fund. You could remember for that of the NDMA, the Dahaba and the team, when they investigate and realize that it was more than hundreds of bags of rice and sugars were to be distributed among the people in this country, and they were not distributed. You, as the director of the NDMA, you cannot contact you do not know that until after 1-2 years. Do you understand? You cannot contact your supplier to say whether you have supplied what we have contracted you or not. That happened in this, and those people are still in public office. You can talk about NAWEC issue here. You cannot imagine. I'm in the Public Enterprises Committee. Those institutions, when we were coming in office, NAWEC was indebted over $77 billion, and they were able to reduce it to $5 billion. And today, those institutions are indebted over more than billions and billions of dollars in this country. All those things are happening in this country. You, President, under your watch, nobody is arrested, nobody is prosecuted, nobody is investigated, what do you mean? That's not realistic. That cannot be true. After 8 years in public office, all these things are happening there. You look at our government accounts, it is, come on.
Ni nata jibe fanang 5 debt member Gambia asiata bakel ni a compare ning jamela time aya double.
Yeah, debt member Gambia be is it is billion more. That is our debt. Our current debt is 120 billion Gambian dollars is our current debt.
Yeah, kaduna report for angela ko ning comme pour julo ñe banjola every citizen $40,000 ibola jola.
Nto malum fama ba jono la nyami nto malum fama ba jono la nyami o market vendor tino nto malum ba ta jono la nyami how can we do it? And the way the debt is serviced, countries are more indebted than the Gambia, understand, but our government doesn't have a vision, because when you take a loan, you invest it in the productive sector, in the sector that it can generate more revenue for you to service the debt. That's what you do with the debt. You don't take debt to pay salaries, to maintenance and do things and travel with those things. That's what is happening. This is why when ntolbukan na julo fo dati jola nga julo ta silol men kaw silol be katinya. Ya julo ta ye silo de da. Janni be julo fo jo dati la dron silo be tinya da 5. Ya family. So that's supposed to generate revenue for you, exactly, so that you can service your debt. Our debt can be more than 200 billion if our debt can generate 400 billion, 500 billion for this country. Do you understand? And we must generate from those debts. Yes. Because this is why when we anchored our development projects on debt or on loans and grants, if they don't come, we don't implement those projects. We don't implement them. So we don't have a government that is sensitive, because our government, the president, is the business community and the elite group who are dealing with the president. The politics is in the hand of the first lady and few elite groups. That is the reality. The politics is in the hands of those people. The business community and that of the economic who are trying to drain our country, do divert all our public resources, are in the hand of the president and the few interest groups who call themselves the businessmen and other people. This is why when it goes to the allocation of all the lands in this country, go to Senegambia and all this country, all the reserves. The tropics you talk about in Senegambia, yeah, it's a foreign investor. and it was given by the minister in this country, where government resources is put, and nothing is going back to the Gambia. And they didn't even pay the entire due that is due to the state. That is the, the 5%. All other resources in this country, the lands and everything is allocated, is butchered to zero. You go to Brufut Height, you cannot talk about it. You go to the selling of the Jana Commission results and everything, nothing is implemented. The TRRC, what are we as a country? We don't have hope. We do not have hope. And I think Gambian must know this. Gambian must know this, and they still have to go back to the citizens of this country and ask them to vote for them, and they're still going to vote for them. They're still going to do that. That's the reality that we have. Because few people, are furnishing their pockets and their family members.
Okay, well,
so it's just so crazy.
We later advised it to those corrupt officials, and for the year 2026 election over approach Kandane, science and design. Everyone advise the citizens la or Carola.
The advice I can give to citizens, nte be yamaro mendila banku dingo la wala ngindiko. Banku di nyanda kela nyantolande. You understand? Banku di nyanda kela nyantolande. The craziest thing is during election, mobe carte o nyini nebulo kono aka kalera bal. Can you imagine? That happens in that happens in Brufut. Fabe Brufut tura kunankol ni kamera kunankol. Ya kalera bal dila Brufut. Ya kalera bal dila je. But they should be able to know that ka banko la naflo mara anin ka banko dingol la nyanto dila atambita wolale. Adun gambe dingol be nyanta kawlon ne bi. Ni United Democratic Party nate noma, NPP nate noma, oda mol party koton nate noma. Kela moy mola kajube men yalon ko be banko di ngol nyanto dilela. People have to listen to that. Yes. Man sakunda me yalon ko ay maraloke nyin sanji jamal amang fendino banko no me yalon ko en safo ko funding kewol nin dindingol men yalon ko be wul kanne se fan nafala. What is the unemployment rate in this country? Funding ke jelle fata ba ko no Gambia dingol.
Siaga.
Fantola Minister for Youth and Sports, and the Minister of Youth and Sports, and government of Fintinola call address ba. Ya gibe be banku ding funding kawli ibe employ no nyadi. Kabiri iko be funding kawli sambala kata mbinda na yala Saudi Arabia and other countries more jube. Gambia funding kawli mensera funding kawli really sabati. Ifata labor office just pur kata wato. Ite jola fene naman ke dorari kodo kemi kilinde warando kemi fulani demanding. They prefer to die in the Mediterranean Sea than living in their own country. We have seen that in this country.
Yes.
We have seen women die in labor. I've seen people, many along could be serious locked hand auto. You drip all or steering wheelchair because there is no bed. 2 pregnant women, Kalaran killing us here in a hospital. Ni be uluta, ni me flano warranty ni dingol ibe laran killing us here. In our hospitals, we have seen that. It is an open secret.
It's happening.
So more phone se wulle nganyele ngaje many alonko is a banko marano.
Yes.
You understand? So and I believe the best people to do that one is United Democratic Party. I hope that 2026 the people of this country will give their votes to United Democratic Party. For me, in the principle of accountability, transparency, and to ensure that you serve the interests of the citizen. The United Democratic Party or principle, I'm done with them. I'm done. Whether I'm going to be done with party, but I'm done with them. Because in preach accountability, transparency, and in yes. For now, you can see what Yankuba Tabo is doing. You can see the local government commission praising him.
Yes.
He has not given anything to them, but they're praising him because he's trying to fight that one. So I am very much impressed with what they are doing. So for now, we hope that 2026, Gambian people, irrespective of some people who supports NPP, are still willing to give chance to the United Democratic Party to see what they can do for this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure having you on our platform. Well, this is how we've come to the end of the program, which is the Political Hour Show here on Eco TV International, the People's Choice. And today here with me was the Honorable National Assembly Member for Kiang West, Lamin Ceesay, which is our photocopy, the two Rekunankas.
Really?
Till next week, inshallah. But don't forget to subscribe on our channel. You can follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Sponsors are also invited. You can call on the numbers on the screen to sponsor this program. Till next week. Bye-bye.